welcome back to the awesome vlog. This past week was the 26th anniversary of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, so I thought it would be a cool idea to travel to Chicago and see what Ferris Bueller was up to these days. So the first day I arrived in Chicago just happened to be Flag Day, so I figured it would be a good chance if there was a parade, I'd see Ferris singing on a float. Found a parade, but sadly, no Ferris was singing. I did, however, see a group of black people walk down the stairs together to choreograph dance moves, so I'm glad that hasn't changed. After striking out at the parade, I decided to check out the coolest jazz bar in Chicago, figuring maybe Ferris would hang out here. Sadly, he was not there. However, I did try a shot called A Little Blue Fucker. I know what you're thinking. With a name like A Little Blue Fucker, it's gotta be a kamikaze with curacao in it. But you'd be wrong, and I was wrong assuming that as well. What they actually did was they took a Smurf and dropped it in a blender, and then they serve it to you. And it is delicious. And I drew a picture of it. So for my second day in Chicago, I headed over to Wrigley Field where the Red Sox and Cubs were playing an interleague game. And I figured this is the type of game that Ferris would not miss. So I naturally looked for him in his usual seats. Somebody else was sitting in Ferris's seat. It's just disappointing that he would miss this. But I did get to enjoy a good ball game. I did get to see Wrigley Field finally. It's a beautiful ballpark. I did get this nifty Sox Cubs interleague t-shirt. And also, I took a shot in the dark. On my way out of Wrigley Field, I decided to stop by a sausage vendor and, ask if he knew how I could get in touch with Abe Froman. I figured maybe Abe Froman was pissed enough that he always knew where to find Ferris Bueller after Ferris Bueller took his, lunch reservation. Sausage vendor didn't even know who Abe Froman was. How do you sell sausages in Chicago and not know that Abe Froman is the Sausage King of Chicago? It's just ridiculous. On day 3, I went to Navy Pier, which is really more of a brownish gray color than navy. It's very misleading. Hopped on a boat, went for an architecture tour, figuring maybe I would see a Save Ferris sign somewhere or some graffiti that said Save Ferris. Anything that could get me back on the right track to finding him. Nothing. I did get to see Trump Tower, which is big and pointy, which tells me somebody is clearly compensating for something. I also saw a building that had parts of it made up from other monuments from around the world. There was parts from the Colosseum, parts from the Egyptian pyramids, and somehow they're all together in this one building. Supposedly, this was the architecture's work, but I know a fringe event when I see one. You're not fooling anybody, Chicago. One of the last places they showed us on the architecture tour that was pretty cool was the post office. I know what you're saying, post offices aren't cool, but hold on. This post office was where a lot of the Dark Knight movie was actually filmed. Our tour guide told us you could see Batman driving in and around the post office at night. I drew a picture of it. While I did enjoy my time in Chicago, it was unfortunate that I had to leave, having not found any traces of Ferris Bueller still around. Clearly, the city has forgotten about him, and I hope he too has moved on. That's it for this week on the Awesome Vlog, so remember to be like Ferris Bueller and stay awesome.